Do you want to introduce yourself and say who you are and what you did on the Maybe She Will record?
My name is Marcus Joseph and I played sax on Refuturing.
Hi, I'm Molly. I play cello on No Feeling Is Final.
My name is Chris Small and I am a lower brass musician, and on the Maybe She Will album I was recording trombone and euphonium.
I'm Courtney Askey, and on the Maybe She Will record I did some choir vocals. Was it choir vocals?
I'm Leonie, and I sang a few strange oohs and ahs on the Maybe She Will record.
So my name's Gary Perrin. I'm a trumpeter. I recorded some trumpet on one of the Maybe She Will tracks.
I'm Charlie Jones. I'm a singer-songwriter from Leicester, and I was asked to be part of Maybe She Will record to do some backing vocals.
Hello, my name is Tom Leet and I played violin and viola on the record.
My name is Grace Petrie and I'm a folk singer-songwriter and a dear friend of the band of Maybe She Will, and I provided a small amount of vocals.
So I'm a spoken word artist and I'm also a saxophone player and I also make music. Yeah, that's what I do.
At the moment I call myself an experimental musician, which basically means I get away with doing anything.
I've been a musician for about 10 years, doing sort of solo songwritery stuff and also working with bands.
I've performed with bands and orchestras in the UK, mostly in the north, before I then moved out to the Middle East and performed with an orchestra in the Middle East there for 6 years.
Well, it all started actually when I was runner-up on BBC Radio 2 Singer-Songwriter of the Year quite a few years back now. And off the back of that, I was advised to sort of get a band together, so I got Charlie and the Martyrs together.
I grew up playing the drums in various bands, and I started off with the violin, playing in orchestras and stuff when I was little. So now I sing through weird effects units and play long notes on the violin. I'm
a freelance violinist mainly, but I also play viola, and I studied at the Royal College of Music many moons ago, and I've been freelancing ever since then.
Grew up in Leicester and was sort of writing kind of like, I guess more like singer-songwritery poppy songs, and then in my sort of when I moved into like more of a career in music, I kind of got a little bit more into like folk music proper. So these days I sort of sit somewhere between the like genres, I suppose, of folk and singer-songwriter. I've done a little bit of work in comedy as well, and I write a lot of sort of political material, so I'm sort of largely regarded, I suppose, as a process singer.
I was in loads of orchestras in Leicestershire County Orchestra and things like that, and then I got into hip hop and rap and things like that.
I would say first and foremost I'm a teacher, so I'm a brass teacher. So I teach trumpet, trombone, euphonium, French horn, all types of brass.
We went on tour with Paul Heaton from Beautiful South. We were doing quite a few bits, recorded an EP with him in Manchester.
Grew up as a trumpet player, started out on trumpet, and then towards my late childhood developed into playing a euphonium. I then picked up a trombone for the first time at the age of 16. Went to music college and got a degree in music. I'm now a secondary school music teacher.
I'm also an artist, and I make conceptual art, video art, installation art, that kind of thing.
I'm a conductor, I'm a director. I do a lot of work in schools, a lot of work with bands and ensembles and stuff like that, really.
In and around all sorts of genres of music, from Maybe She Will to brass bands, orchestras, opera, theatre work, blues, jazz, festivals, you name it. I've had the privilege of doing it.
Spent some time in New Orleans, so I spent like a whole year, and I was on a student exchange, and it was amazing experience, and I think it's where I really honed my sound in New Orleans. Basically, that's where I honed my sound, and it inspired my debut album, basically. Which is out now.
Maybe She Will are about as different musically as it gets to me in terms of in terms of process. So I'm sort of like one guitar, 3 chords, some words that rhyme.
It was really interesting, although I did find it was more serious than I'm used to.
I found it surprisingly challenging, actually. I was kind of expecting to do a session with a lot of egg notes or semi-briefs, but it turned out to be a lot more complicated than I thought.
It was really fun. I think the guys were very welcoming and very excited to be recording the album, and it was very contagious, that kind of sense of excitement and involvement in something bigger.
It was fun, an experience, not too challenging, and I really loved singing with the other people that were there.
It was really interesting, I think, seeing somebody else's process and having met conductors from the middle of a room and trying to describe this very weird vocal movement that was genuinely impossible for me to comprehend what we were doing until we were actually doing it.
And Matt and Jamie were like, we have this one bit where we want you to sing a droning note going up, I think a semitone or a tone, over 16 bars. And I was like, that feels like it'll sound awful. And they were like, yeah.
But we were just acting like silly little school kids, messing about and giggling a lot, and I don't think it went down well with the band in the control room. They were like, quiet at the back, please.
It was a lovely thing to be asked to do as well. I'd done a few session vocals for other people. This is like my first proper record, I guess, so that was really lovely.
The finished thing was like, it's so beautiful, and it was very sort of like hard to imagine it getting there when we were recording this, like.
Yeah, it was also really affirming to work with the musicians who I really respect, and that was really nice. It was Robin who, I think he emailed me and said that he, so I think he heard my album and he says, oh mate, I love your sound and what you did about the album and things like that. I goes, oh wow, cool. It was like random, but I was like, oh cool, thank you.
It was challenging. The piece was something that on paper looked really simple, but in practice was really hard. I knew it was going to be hard. I'd looked at the part, I'd practiced it, and I knew it was going to be difficult to get right. But no, I enjoyed it. It was a good challenge. I like challenges like that.
First of all, there's no vocals, so often when I've done popular music or like 21st century music, I've always had that kind of to latch onto. And as an instrumentalist recording, you don't know what stage so when you record, you don't hear the full song. So I still don't know what the full song sounds like, and I'm really excited. I just know what I heard when I recorded my little bit.
So we had all kinds of things. We had regular time signatures and some really quite difficult figures to play. Some really high octave stuff as well, high octave stuff.
Really enjoyed the challenges that it posed, as well as all the fun that we had.
Well, how much did you send me? Yeah, I think you sent me the last bit of the track, and I thought that was the whole track. I goes, oh, this is really short.
It was written by a non-brass player, so sometimes if you don't know the instrument, and it's the same for me and say guitar for example, if you don't know the instrument, you sometimes don't know what's really difficult, and playing really quietly and really high is really hard, especially at the levels that was needed. But it's, as I said, it's a good challenge. I enjoyed it. So
at the end of the session he says, oh, and here's the whole track. I goes, all right, so there's like a whole thing more. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then I heard the track and I thought to myself, yeah, this really makes sense to me now, because it takes you on a journey, which I really love the track. It's really just massive. It's really big.
Robin asked us to make a load of noise at the end, as loud, and basically starting off quiet and getting as loud as possible. And it was just a kind of random cacophony that builds and builds and builds. I've not been asked to do that before.
Obviously, we were coming out the back of a pandemic, but in a recording studio, that doesn't really matter, I kind of felt more at ease the second time round than I did the first time round. I guess that's because you guys had asked me back to record the second album, so I must have done alright the first time.
Really hard to come up in Leicester. I mean, I love Leicester. It's got loads of musicians here. It seems splintered. They're over there. They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing.
But Leicester's a great place to try stuff out. So that's a big plus. Everyone's really supportive of each other.
Yeah. I think I make like Midlands music. I feel like that makes sense.
The relationship that like someone like me has with a band like Maybe She Will, like who, you know, we're not like natural genre mates or anything. I think it feels like something that only a music scene like Leicester could sort of generate.
What I'd love to see is collaboration between musicians. Not like, oh, you know, we're going to get along or anything like that, but just to reach out, like he did, like Robin did, just reached out to me randomly. I was like, oh, cool, this is really nice. So yeah, I think more things like that, you know.
It is like a real melting pot of the things, and I think there's a lot happening. There always has been a lot happening, but it's the kind of place you have to really actively seek it.
It feels a bit scrappier, the scene here, and I definitely think it feels quite a lot more DIY, and I think that's, you know, massively benefited me, and I think I've learned a lot from the Leicester scene about, you know, just making things happen, just like having a go and putting things on, and like, you know, just trying to kind of make friendships and find skills where you can, rather than sort of, I think because there isn't really necessarily that same sort of infrastructure, like I say, in other places, we do have a bit more of a like, it feels anyway like there's a bit more of a like bring and buy sale community feel to the music scene here.